growing up, I was raised by my mom. My dad kind of walked out when we were young, so I never had that male role model in my life. So, and being the young one in my family, I was kind of able to get away with things and get lost in the world so easily. And I was lost in the world for quite a while until I met my wife. And when we first got together, she mentioned that God was one of the main things in her life. So I took that into consideration and I went with it. And we were going to church for a while. I accepted Christ as my Savior. Got baptized at our old church, but I never really had that feeling that God was there or anything along those lines until we actually came to family life. And pretty much ever since then, it was just nothing but ups, even though there was bad, but there were a lot better with God, knowing that He was there and He was gonna get us through our little journey and everything He had for us. So nothing but happy days after that.
When we first met, I was going through a really tough time in my life. I was actually sleeping in the park with my daughter, and I didn't know where to go. And it just kind of happened that I ended up on his doorstep through a mutual friend, and we met after that, and we talked, and there was something about him. I knew that he was the person that God wanted me to spend the rest of my life with. I did tell him that God was the foundation of my life, and in order for him to accept me and us to be together, that he would need to accept that too. Just be open-minded to it. And I brought him to church. We actually went through a few ministries. We were involved with the youth and things like that, and that was what led us to get married. And at first we were very doubtful about it, but we just thought, okay, if we're going to do it eventually, then we might as well do it, to set a good example. A few months later, we got pregnant with our first child. I had my daughter before we got married, so he raised her with me. And we were really happy about it. We had actually been coming to family life for a couple months, and it was just something that drew me to here. It was just something that I just kept feeling I needed to be here. And a few months later, we lost our child. Went to heaven. I was 3 months pregnant. And I never thought we'd get through it. I never felt so broken in my life. And I had been through so much at that point, I didn't think it could get any worse. And it ended up that my husband almost lost me as well. I had spent a week in the hospital. I lost our first child. I just really didn't feel like there was any going back. And it really took a toll on me. And I ended up slipping back into the world. And we came to Let His Presence Reign a few months after. And I spoke into the worship leader, Pastor Vivian. And she was speaking, she was prophesying, and she was saying, somebody in here needs to really stop what they're doing, or it's going to end up killing you. And she had her eyes closed, and she was just, I don't want anybody to look at me, I don't want anybody to talk, just listen to what I'm saying. And when she opened her eyes, she looked right at me, and she said, "It's you." And I knew that God was speaking to me, telling me that I did have a reason to keep going. I was still a parent, I was still a mother to a beautiful little girl, and I needed to get on my game and just really continue, because there was still a path for my life. Even though I felt like things weren't going to be the same, I would never get over something like that. And after that, it seemed like everything just fell into place. I lost my child, I almost lost my husband, I've been tired of him. It's almost separated us. But one thing I didn't lose was my joy. I smile every day about my life right now. I'm just excited about him. I'm excited to see where God's going to take us, or it's going to take my family. Because I know that one day we're all going to be in heaven, including my child. And just a little thing to add. I had found out that my dad, who had left me when I was very young, actually came to family life when he got saved here. And I had known nothing about it until after he died. He died when I was 16 years old. And I had found out just very recently, that this is the place he got saved at. He was very close to the pastor. So I know that I was meant to be here. Family life is my home, it always will be. Honestly, receiving Christ was the happiest day of my life.